enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Good morning once again. Of course, I welcome you to Church of Uganda Family TV. This is the Uganda we want, and we want to move together from now up to where we shall end as we look at the Uganda we want. Now, there is a lot that is happening in the country. We know nominations for parliamentary seats is on. It has kicked off today, and of course, probably by now, the first people to be duly nominated have already been. The first teams have already been duly nominated, and of course, here we are. But just to read, of course, we woke up in to the news of a very fatal accident that happened this particular morning, and of course, according to police has issued out a statement that 63 people have been confirmed dead and several others injured in a road fatal crash that occurred today, 22nd October 2025 at 12:15 a.m. and at Chitaleba village near Asili Farm along the Kampala-Gulu highway. The fatal crash involved 4 motor vehicles, a UBF 614X Isuzu bus, Nile Star coaches, CGO 5132AB 0712 Toyota Surf having a Congolese number, then UBK 647C Tata lorry, and UAM 045V Isuzu bus belonging to the Planet Company. According to initial investigations, the driver of UBF 614X Isuzu bus traveling from Kampala towards Gulu attempted to overtake the Tata lorry UBK 647C at the aforementioned location. Simultaneously, the Isuzu bus UAM 045V traveling from the opposite direction was also attempting to overtake the Toyota Surf CGO 5132AB07. In the process, both buses met head-on during the overtaking maneuvers. One of the drivers swerved in an attempt to avoid collision, but this resulted in a head-on and side collision, causing a chain reaction that led to other vehicles losing control and overturning several times. As a result, 63 people lost lives. All occupants from involved vehicles and several others sustained injuries. The police arrived at the scene promptly and transported the injured to Chiliandongo Hospital and other nearby medical facilities. The bodies of the deceased were conveyed to the same hospital mortuary for post-mortem and identification. An investigation continues. We strongly urge all motorists to exercise maximum caution on the roads, especially avoiding dangerous and careless overtaking, which remains one of the leading causes of clashes in the country. We extend our heartfelt condolences to the families of the deceased and wish a quick recovery to the injured, signed by SP Michael Kananura, who is the community liaison officer and also a public relations officer, the Directorate of Traffic and Road Safety. Now, it's really unfortunate that we can lose 63 people in just one night. It's really unfortunate, but anyway, that is what is happening in the country. Now, this document that I have here is a document from the Electoral Commission, and these are parliamentary elections 2025 guidelines for nomination of candidates, and it highlights a number of things, but I think most importantly, we shall talk about qualification for members of parliament, and that is in the section A of the Electoral Commissions Act. And here, Political Parties and Organizations Act. 1, a person is qualified to be a member of parliament if that person is a citizen of Uganda, a registered voter, and has completed the minimum formal education of advanced level standard, all its equivalent. A person is not qualified for election as a member of parliament if that person is suffering from mental illness, is holding or acting in an office that functions of which involves a responsibility for all in connection with the conduct of an election, is a traditional or cultural leader as defined under Article 246 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, has been adjudged or otherwise declared bankrupt under any law in force in Uganda and has not been discharged, all is under a sentence of death or a sentence of imprisonment exceeding 9 months imposed by any contempt court without the option of a fine, has within the 7 years immediately preceding the election been convicted by a competent court of a crime involving dishonesty or moral turpitude. All has within the 7 years immediately preceding the elections been convicted by a contempt court for contravention of any law relating to elections conducted by the Commission. And then a public officer or a person employed in any government department or agency of the government, or an employee of a local government or anybody in which the government has controlling interest, who wishes to stand for election as a member of parliament shall resign his or her office at least 90 days before nomination days. Those are approximately 3 months. The following persons who wish to stand for the elections as members of parliament shall establish their qualifications with the commission as persons holding a minimum qualification of advanced level or its equivalent at least 2 months before nomination day. 1. Persons, whether their qualification is obtained from Uganda or outside Uganda, who are claiming to have their qualification accepted as equivalent to advanced level education. Persons claiming to have advanced level qualifications from outside Uganda, and persons claiming to have academic degrees which were obtained outside Uganda. A person establishing his or her qualification shall do so by production of a certificate issued to him or her by the National Council of Higher Education in consultation with the Ugandan National Examination Board. For the avoidance of doubt, if a candidate has an advanced level certificate of education obtained in Uganda or qualifications higher than the prescribed qualification obtained in Uganda or obtained from the former University of East Africa or any of its constituent colleges, then there shall be no need for the verification of his or her qualification by the National Council for Higher Education. And then the Commission shall not accept, for the purposes of academic qualification, a statutory declaration or affidavit. Sponsorship of candidates by political parties, all organizations. Nomination of candidates may be made by a political party or organization sponsoring a candidate, or by a candidate standing for elections as an independent candidate without being sponsored by a political party or organization. Where a candidate is sponsored by a political party or organization, the nomination paper shall be endorsed and sealed by the political party or organization sponsoring the candidate. And NB, the Secretary General of a party or a person designated by him or her shall ensure that the nomination papers are endorsed and sealed. And of course, this document goes ahead to highlight a number of things, but among the acceptable symbols, we have a ball, banana, boat, a book, a borehole, a candle, a car, a chair, a clock, coffee, cup, house, jerrycan, kettle, megaphone, pot, radio, saucepan, table, and television. Now, these symbols are for the independent candidates, known to those that are subscribed to political parties, because the symbols of the various political parties are known clearly by especially those who subscribe to those particular political parties. Now, that means that actually, according to the Electoral Commission, that any candidate after their nomination are allowed to have what they call a nomination rally to unveil their manifesto before their voters. And according to police, this should be done in it should be done in accordance to the law. So that aside, there is a lot that is happening still in the political wing. Of course, we see that the presidential campaigns are still on. For today, Mugisha Muntu is expected to be in Kakumiro and Chibale, where the NUP president was yesterday and the other day. And then President Yoweri Museveni will be in Ramo, will also be in Gulu and Gulu City. Then we have Robert Kasivante, who will be in Sembabule. We have Mubaraka Munyagwa, who is in Machindye, that is here in Kampala. Then we have Robert Chagulanyi, who will be in Hoima and Hoima City. Then we have Joseph Mabilizi, who will be in Mukono. Frank Bulira will be resting today, and Nandala Mafabi will be in Serere today, or is in Serere today, or if he's not yet there, then they expect him there today. Now, we are talking about the campaigns and overview. It's about, we are in the third week of the presidential campaigns, and of course we want to see what is and what it is. Of course, we've seen an outcry, especially in the FDC and the NUP presidential candidates, claiming that police is blocking them from the designated places. And of course, we saw the leader of opposition together with other opposition MPs on Monday in Parliament during the plenary as fronting the same case, that there is unfairness in the way some candidates are treated by political, by security organizations or by the security. So we are discussing this, and through the lens, what should we expect? Because so far, apart from yesterday in Kakumiro, where we saw some tear gas, I think we have not had any violence during these campaigns, and I think even in Kakumiro, before long, the situation came back to normal. But we continue to experience, and we have sadists who are already saying, why are the campaigns so peaceful this time? So the question is, how would you want them to be? Well, with us is Reverend Canon Grace Kaiso, and Canon, it's a pleasure having you this particular morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And good morning to you.
Good morning.
We are glad to have you after a long while.
I'm so sorry. Too many commitments.
Of course, kindly greet our view, and then we get into our discussion today.
Okay.
Kindly greet our viewers out there.
Well, it is a pleasure for me to be here and also to acknowledge the fact that God has given us the gift of life. And as my brother was saying, we feel so grieved about the loss of our fellow citizens, brothers and sisters who have been caught up in that accident on Guru Road. We are just praying that God will uphold and sustain the families affected, and also stretching his healing hand upon those who are in hospitals. But a timely call to become more and more responsible drivers on the road, especially during the night. So, brethren, I'm here and I'm happy to be here.
We are also glad to be here. Now, we are looking at the emerging issues, especially in the campaigns. Of course, we've had the presidential campaigns all through, and we are soon getting into the campaigns of the members of parliament, and then before long we shall also get into the campaigns of local government representatives. But all in all, if I can ask from your own lens as Reverend Canon Kaiso, what is your general observation, if we can start from there? So far, this is the third week of the campaigns, and what is your observation so far compared to the 2020-2021 campaigns and the previous campaigns that you've witnessed?
I think we need to appreciate really that there has been a general improvement in the political environment, and I think we want to commend the Electoral Commission, the duty bearers, the security people, the media, civil society organizations, and the political parties themselves, I think all have worked hard to ensure that they live out their constitutional mandate in a manner that has now created some kind of environment that is enabling for the people to go on their work and for the political candidates to engage with the citizens. So generally, I think we've started well, and those of us who believe in a peaceful, stable election are not seated, have been working really hard, having engagement with the duty bearers, and to ensure that they play their role within the constitutional framework. So generally I can say we are thankful to God that so far the elections, electoral environment is enabling for every participant. I think there are certainly gaps which I think we'll be able to talk through. But generally, that will be my verdict.
Well, thank you for that submission. Now, kind of getting into the real gist of what we want to discuss, the number of things that are coming up. For example, we've had, especially the opposition representatives, first of all, decrying unfairness, especially in access of venues. Some have been told to get off some venues that they have chosen. Others have not been freely been able to access particular venues. We are also seeing some still opposition aspirants are saying they are forced, that they're not allowed to use the main road. They are told to use to go through the rural areas and all that. We saw this especially in Busoga, when I think the NUP president was in was in Kamuli and Luka and those places, where he went through a very dusty road that by the time all the team members arrived, they were all close to dust. But I mean, this has also been the same cry of especially the FDC presidential candidate, Honorable Nandala Mafabi. And I think these are the most vibrant for now that have attracted crowds in Laris, because you realize for the others, they do not have specific venues. They get into a trading center, they get a few people, they talk to them, and then they move to the next station. But for those that have had stations, campaigning stations, where their mega rallies are going to be, have come up to decry unfairness. And what does this communicate, especially when we are looking at a free and fair election?
Well, first of all, let me commend the Electoral Commission as the body that is in charge of running the election and creating the environment for the election. I think we're looking at the start of the nominations. I think the nominations went very well. But they also established through consensus, agreed on which places, venues, the candidates are going to use, and those were clearly gazetted. And then sometimes the security have interfered in those in that arrangement. But I think what has been reassuring is that the Electoral Commission has taken responsibility to ensure that they enforce what was agreed upon. And we saw that through the chairperson of the Electoral Commission engaging the RDCs and police and security people, to allow the candidates space as agreed. So on the part of the enforcing institution, I think Electoral Commission has been very clear that they want to create a level playing field, and they have also created space for engaging where there has been grievances, we've seen that they have created the space to hear about those grievances. And I think as the referee in this, they have demonstrated, at least so far, a commitment to ensuring that there is fairness in the campaign, in the arrangement for the campaigns, and a fairness in the way security agencies conduct themselves. So yes, you will always have these challenges of some duty bearers out of personal enthusiasm, impatience, interest, acting outside the guidelines. And I think what is really important here is that when that happens, how does EC respond? And as I just have said, I think they've tried to really raise up their voice, to challenge those kinds of behavior. And we can see, like Kakumiro, for instance, Kakumiro, how the police, I think, out of conflicting instructions, were caught up in a dilemma. But you can see that what then prevailed was that, the candidate was eventually allowed to go and engage with his voters.
But now, Reverend, the question here is, what happens if the Electoral Commission will stand at their office in the industrial area and they communicate their stand and they respond to this, but then back to the other stakeholders, the directives are not effected, they keep on being violated?
As I see, you picked up some of those concerns in this way. We realize that the duty bearers beyond the Electoral Commission have certain instruction and powers. Yes. And we have taken responsibility, not initiative, not responsibility, initiative, to go and engage. We have engaged with the police, the operations commander. We have talked to him about these things, and we are aware that the Electoral Commission, after those kinds of incidents, engages with those institutions. So what would worry us would be that people who are conducting themselves out of the law are not restrained, or that issues are not raised with their people in charge. But I want to assure the public that there is that continuous engagement in raising concern. If there is an incident like that, then EC will contact the police and say, what is going on here? And those of us who also have engaged with the police and the Electoral Commission are aware of that dynamics and what is going on. Okay. So I think while in the previous elections there was a sense of helplessness on the part of the Electoral Commission, a lot of helplessness on the part of some of the duty bearers, and recklessness in some situations. In this election so far, there is a calling to accountability and a restraining of people working outside the legal framework.
Okay. So we still look at a change in things for, I think, the previous 4 elections. We have seen the Electoral Commission having, among the candidates, a female candidate at least. Those days when we had Miria Kalobote, those days when we had Chalia, when we had the former Igigi Betty Kamia, and I mean very many others up to the 2021. And this time round, 2 things that stood out. We do not have any female candidate contesting, even when we saw very many showing interest. But also, we do not see any independent-leaning candidate. That all the 8 presidential candidates belong to particular political parties. What does this communicate, especially to the fairness, where everyone has a right to contest, and we saw all those that wanted to contest on independent coming out to demonstrate a night before the nominations, saying that it was unfair for them, much as the Electoral Commission took their stand and gave reasons as to why they were not qualified or they were not cleared for nominations. But I mean, as I see you, when we talk about equality, having everyone participating in the affairs of the nation, and we see now the Electoral Commission this time doesn't have on their list, even among the people who had showed interest, are the people who were in the race in the previous elections. So does it mean that you were able to get signatures in the previous election, and this time around you failed to get the signatures, 100 signatures from the 98 districts? So as I see you, what does this communicate?
Well, I think it's a verdict on all of us as citizens, especially those of us, those organizations that have been working for gender equity over the years, and we have invested a lot in terms of capacity building for women's participation in governance. So it is a verdict, I think, and I think we need to step back, those of us who believe in these values, to ask ourselves, why is it the case that we can't have a woman candidate?
So someone would say, did you people who would have come in earlier slept on the job, that this one passed, unnoticed by such institutions like IRCU?
It's probably partly a reflection on the weakness or the impact of support to civil society organizations. Because before, women organizations and some of our organizations will have acted proactively in working with women who wanted to stand, equipping them and preparing them for what it means for them. But as you know, there has been this process of disempowering the civil society organizations. And I think this is one of the impacts that we see, and so it's a terrible thing, because some of us believe that we need the feminine elements, in leadership. They bring a certain, create a different environment, and those instincts they would help to work towards healing the nation and focusing on the common good. So my colleagues in civil society, this is a verdict, and I think we need to find a way of exploring alternative resources, maybe using the existing groups that are there to be able to empower women to be able to participate. Otherwise, while we have been priding that, we have paid attention and made progress in the areas of gender equity, really, this shows that all that is the air, really.
Karen, doesn't it also mean that if a female candidate can fail to raise 100 signatures, okay, even if we say that only 100 women from every district out of the 98 districts that the Electoral Commission wants, at least even the 98, even the 100 from every district, as long as they were women, but we still realize that they were not still to achieve that. Does it mean that the advocacy you make doesn't reach the grassroots to empower women, to show them that they can as well stand and support themselves?
As I said earlier, the whole process of empowerment needs also accompaniment, and so the women that would be aspiring for these places, they need empowerment, but also accompaniment, in the sense that the fees that is required, the signatures that are required. That if your wife is your wife, how do you work it out that she will spend 3 weeks or 4 weeks looking for signatures. There must be mechanisms that support her to be able to do that so that she doesn't destabilize her family life, professional life even. And so that's why the women groups were very helpful, you know. The organizations were very helpful in terms of accompanying, you know, these aspiring leaders and even mobilizing for resources to support them to be able to pay the fees for standing. So I think those are the gaps in this election that we have experienced, you know, because civil society organizations are not being funded. All channels of support for civil society organizations have been blocked generally. And for those behind this, it is probably a point of rejoicing. But I think in terms of advancing the gender goals and equity, we're beginning to see the negative impact of this.
We look at still about the same issue. We look, for example, in the NRM, you realize that it's almost women at the forefront of mobilization. If we can highlight names, one of them is the Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Anita Mong, Honorable Rosina Mayanja, Honorable Nanso Bogaseninde. I mean, you realize it is women at the center of mobilization. And on every rally of President Museveni, you find them there. They're the advance team. They go there. They do the groundwork. Where does the power of the women lie? Because should they remain being the advanced teams that go and create way for the men?
No, I think issues of mobilization are influenced by other factors beyond gender.
But when you look at all the political parties, they have women as their advanced teams that go there on the ground to clear the way for the big men.
They have chosen that as their strategy.
Okay.
Partly, maybe, I really don't understand. I can't explain why, but partly, maybe, that women are in the majority.
Okay.
And that for some time, these women have been recipients of grants and gifts from either politicians or from the government, the visiting opportunities when the president visits. So there's been that deliberate contact with women groups over these years. And so I think there's a sense in which they think the women will create a rapport, you know, with the fellow women. In terms of mobilization, I'm just to imagine that could be the case. So I think that your question of they are there to clear for men. We have failed. I think all that is the failure really starts by the fact that we don't have a woman candidate. That's a great failure for all of us. We should confess about that and go back on the drawing board to rethink strategy of how to work towards gender equity. As far as the strategies for the current campaigns, people will have reasons why they choose women. It will be a question of maybe faithful in terms of management of resources. You never know. They've been entrusting these resources to men and men have not delivered. And so there's a sense in which we sometimes believe that women are more faithful. So it could be informed by lessons that have taken lessons in the past in terms of strategy. But I want to underline the fact that the question of inequality has been grossly reflected in our failure to have a women's candidate. And it will be interesting to see, of course, the members of parliament is an open space, you know, so that is not something we can rejoice about, you know. But maybe it would be interesting to see the
marginalization also comes up. For example, where one woman is contesting with the number of men, the marginalization will still show up.
That's where we want to pay attention to, that in the open competitive constituencies beyond the women's space, it'll be interesting to see the dynamics. And I think that will also give us some insight of the impact of some of our empowerment programs for women. Okay.
Then this is now about such a season. We are seeing a lot of political transfers. In sports, the transfers, and now we are also seeing a lot of political transfers. This one is crossing from here to there, from here to there. I mean, what does this communicate, especially about the integrity in our politics as a country, where people keep on crossing from one party to the other, to the other, to the other, and then when you subscribe to a particular political party and you're denied a party a flag or ticket, you feel you can come independent, and then after even wasting time for the political party to consider you, I mean, but transfers are also, this one is here, the other tomorrow they're there, the other time they're the other side. What does this communicate?
Well, transfers are legally acceptable. That's why they are possible. But I think it's a reflection on the people that are involved. Okay. Because you would have expected that you have a conviction around why you join a certain party. Their values maybe that inspire you in that party, maybe the programs that they have inspire you, and you want to associate yourself with them. Now, if a person is able to jump from one political party, and sometimes they're jumping from a political party to another party, which doesn't have even the manifesto. So what are you joining? So it's a reflection on those particular individuals that they are not rooted in anything actually. It's all about their personal interest. Because you can't be shifting from one party to another just like that and join a party sometimes without any conflicting, if there is a conflicting manifestos in terms of programs. So why in the first place even associate yourself with this other first party? So it is really a sign that most of our politicians who act like that are really about personal interest. That he has not got an opportunity here, now he's looking for an opportunity here, there. It is a sign of lack of maturity on us, and I think it could go for all the voters. We are going through now the campaigns. Today we will be, I think, getting some of the manifestos. Which will give us some sense of what the parties intend to do for us. And as citizens, our responsibility is to evaluate. It is sad that we still have this way of working where it is the parties that do the manifestos. Some of us think that the right way to do things in an election is that the citizens should come up with a citizens manifesto, and then we would be now engaging the parties to say, how would you fulfill the aspirations expressed in our citizens manifesto? I think that's a more healthy way, because then it makes the citizens demand accountability, because the way it is now, if a party says, I'll do this for you, they don't do it, you really have no basis to challenge the party. The party will say, as you see, we had planned to do it, but we collected less taxes. So they will run away from the being accountable. But if we had a citizens manifesto, it would mean that if any person who visits a community, we would not be beating about the bush. We would be saying, share with us the progress on A, B, C, D of our manifesto. So by the time of the elections, some leaders would have realized that they have failed, because the citizens would be calling them accountable time and again during that period. So to your question is to say that just as we have people who are jumping from one party to another, excuse me, citizens also must evaluate why am I supporting this candidate? What evidence is there that this candidate is worth my trust, my vote? Because you people and all of us have pressing issues in our communities, and we somehow might have lived with these issues, and we are promised all the time that they are going to be tackled, and then our leaders just after elections just get on their agenda, personal agendas or party agendas. So it is a wake-up call for us. Just as we complain about those who are hopping from one party to another without any sense of principle, you as voters, as citizens, we need to be asking ourselves and having difficult conversations among ourselves. I think in an election, it is not enough just to make a personal decision. I think it is helpful if you young people, around community centers, sit and debate. Now we have the manifestos, so there's some content you can use and debate and say, how will this shift us from this sense of hopelessness to a point of hope? So I would really like to see that in so much as we spend time on the rallies, we spend more time engaging with each other on pressing issues within our community and evaluating how the proposed parties are planning to address them.
But now, Reverend, that comes with another challenge of civic education.
Yeah.
You realize that we have people who don't even know what the mandate or where the jurisdiction of an area member of parliament ends. And so when they vote this particular member of parliament, they expect A, B, C, D, E, and F, even things that are not within a mandate. And the area member of parliament or the district representative will use the same to lure them into voting for them. And then after 5 years, they'll find an escape route from the problem. They'll find an excuse. So can really this be achievable, having the Citizens Manifesto implemented when we are dealing with communities that do not even know their civic rights?
Well, the process of developing the Citizens Manifesto is in itself a civic education program, because people will not develop a manifesto if they are not quite aware of their roles and responsibilities as citizens. So that would be a starting point for equipping the citizens with the capacity to be able to make sound judgment. You're right. There are also responsibility, duty bearers, for ensuring that the citizens are sufficiently equipped with civic competence. We have the people like the Human Rights Commission, it's one of their responsibilities. The Electoral Commission is one of their responsibilities. And it is sad that sometimes the understanding of that responsibility is limited or comes to life at election time.
Yeah.
I think we need to begin to value that an informed citizenry is a key asset, in building a stable and thriving nation. And so by us not equipping the citizens in time, and now very quickly we'll be moving into voter education. But there are gaps, really, as you're saying, that people don't quite understand what the roles of members of parliament are, and can value they don't value their vote. For instance, they can sell it for 1,000 shillings or 5,000 shillings, And so that core question of civic education, IRCU has attempted to use its structures to try and awaken the people. But we need the resources. You would have thought that government would have found this meaningful to invest in, but we've been struggling, to be able to do some civic education. We try in our worship centers to try and awaken the people about their roles and responsibilities. But it would have been much better if the duty bearers, the Uganda Human Rights Commission and EC worked collaboratively with people like us who have the infrastructure to deliver this in a sustainable way. But also we are beginning to see the gap in terms of preparing the citizens for the elections. For instance, up to now, we don't know what are we going to use for elections. Is it by metric system? Is it ID? Are we going to use IDs? The chairman recently said he doesn't have a voters register yet. So we can't continue to be things will be gray like this, because then people begin to suspect that we want to ambush them when there is no time for them to prepare themselves, So if indeed it is going to be IDs, then part of the civic education will be to mobilize people to ensure that they have the IDs, and that there is a mechanism to speed up those IDs, to show that people can have them on that time, because we will be monitoring a bit on these processes, of course, and we are going to be seeking accreditation from EC for us to be able to do some focused monitoring on the developments and plans, because our purpose is to create integrity in the process. We want a process to be characterized by integrity, because then that means that even the outcomes of the election are easily acceptable. Yeah.
Well, we are taking a short commercial break. When we return, we shall continue with the discussion. We still have a lot more to talk about here, especially talking about the issues, the emerging issues, especially in the campaigns that are already on and those that are yet to come. Stick with us.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Welcome back from that break, and of course this is the Uganda We Want, and today we are looking at emerging issues, especially in the campaigns. We see the presidential campaigns for quite some time. The president has been in the NRM flag bearer has been in West Nile, and today is moving to Northern, now that is Gulu, Lamo, and but he has stationed that side, and we've seen very many things happening. There are a lot of emerging things that come up. The New Vision came up with what they called the Citizens Manifesto that we were discussing here, and for quite some time, I think for now 2 months, they have been publishing every day what citizens say in particular spaces, in particular districts, in particular constituencies, and what they expect from their leader. And it is evidently clear that sometimes the citizens have a lot of expectations compared to what can be delivered to them. But now I relate this to what you talked about the Citizens Manifesto. Now, after having this Citizens Manifesto implemented, because I believe even civil society organizations can take up this, and they support in implementing this, so that with time, when the stakeholders, the government sees the importance of it, then they can take it on. But after the Citizens Manifesto has been delivered, people have aired what they expect. Who should implement this? Because even after presenting our manifesto, we've had people coming out to say, twalonda bubi. After some time, after the 5 years, go twalonda talina kyatukoledde, and such things, even on what the government should have been delivered, they attribute it to and then someone else will come and say, because you voted for this particular party, or you voted for this particular person who doesn't belong to this particular party, that is why this and this and this is happening. We've seen such, and very many people have fallen prey of this. So who should we blame when the Citizens Manifesto is not implemented? Should we blame it to the leader we sent to represent our manifesto, or the government? We agree that the government has failed in the implementation.
Well, you're talking about People's Manifesto. But that's an exercise, a voluntary exercise,
yes,
by civic bodies to try and have a sense of how people are thinking and feeling. It is. I don't think it is along the Citizen Manifesto of 2001, I think, or 2006. You see, if this, because we are now working with the two ways, there is now the party manifestos,
yes,
which have access to national resources. If a government gets in power, then they can say, we want to implement our manifesto, and they use the manifesto as a legitimate right for them to have access to national resources to fulfill what they promised as a party. Now, this Citizens Manifesto does not enjoy that, those rights, and so therefore you can't equate the party manifesto and the Citizen Manifesto.
But Canon,
the Citizen Manifesto is just a reflection of a bit of because we don't know how it was also done.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Canon, if you come, our leader engages us, and we say, as for us in this particular constituency, this is what we want, and we expect you to represent this when you go to the August House. So when the 5 years go, aren't we supposed to put you on accountability and tell us, yes, when you were asking for votes, we sent you for this. Why didn't we hear you talk about this, which was our pressing issue? Can't we put our leaders to accountability?
Yes, the accountability should be regular. We can't be waiting for 5 years for our leaders to account. In fact, I think that's where we have gone wrong. You see, originally, the local councils, some of us had proposed when they were developing the Local Government Act to say that the levels of Local Council 1, Local Council 2, Local Council 3 are for development. And therefore, they should not become centers for political party activity. You know, we had wanted that the competition in terms of parties should start at district level, not lower levels. And the idea there was that you then help the communities to work soberly around their needs. And the leaders they choose are leaders who will have internalized the needs of the community and work towards addressing those needs. And I think the mechanism also for our development, you know, those are some of the gaps that come or are revealed when we begin to analyze. I think the way we have chosen to do development is to think that people must come and do things for us. You know, and I think the right way would be for our communities to sit down, analyze their community, identify pressing challenges and issues or bottlenecks to their thriving as a community. Is it gender relations? Is it health? Is it poor education facilities? Is it lack of opportunities for business? You know, so that the agenda for development is set by the community itself, and they are able to identify what resources they have, and then look at what other resources they may need to get from outside. So the kind of people we're talking about, like members of parliament, local councils, councillors, would be there to support what the communities have agreed upon, to bridge the gaps, so that if it is capacity building, they are organizing capacity building thing, so that that gap is bridged and the development in the community goes on. But so long as we continue to work with the model of waiting for people to do things for us, I don't think we will make much progress. You know, it's because we're taken for granted. You know, and then it turns elections into a space for people to fight over nothing. You know, because we the citizens are suffering, are in our pain. Not much has actually changed probably for over the years, the last 5 years, and so you will find in our pain, you know, we are eating up each other out of the frustration, the pain, whatnot, instead of channeling that into the direction of saying, what can we do for ourselves in this community? Let others come to support, to accompany us, but they should be coming to leading us.
Okay. Canon, there's also an issue of electoral reforms. We've had electoral reforms at some point when John Patrick Amambabas had also contested under the TDA. When court nullified the case, it also recommended that there should be electoral reforms. And very many people, including the current Minister of Justice, Honorable Norbert Mao, came out and promised electoral reforms. The former leader of opposition, the DA, Democratic Front, Honorable Matthias Mpuga, also at some point presented reforms, but they have all hit a hard surface. In other words, we've not seen any reform. As IRCU, is it something that you are also looking up to engage the responsible parties to see that we can have electoral reforms?
Electoral reforms should be the interest of everybody, because the agenda of reform indicates that you are paying attention to how things are being done, and that because of the changes in the environment, you need to change certain ways of working. Now, that presupposes really that people are committed to wanting things to be done well and better. You know, that you want to improve. I mean, it's like your home. You could say now, part of the problem is that, you know, the wife is waking up at 5 a.m. The husband is waking up at 7. And joins the wife in the garden who has gone at 5. So if we reform this behavior, for both of us, the husband and the wife, to go in the garden at 5, what difference would it make? We all agree that, yeah, I think it will make a difference. And so we change that behavior. So there must be the feeling of wanting to change things. Part of the challenge you had in this country is not that we have not had reforms, for instance, we don't have good laws, but it's how the commitment to make those laws work, the commitment to want to change things, to address the gaps that we all see glaringly. And so if there isn't that goodwill and commitment among the duty bearers, you know, now fortunately we have the Minister of Justice, who has been a victim of much of the areas that need reform. So you would have expected, you know, that would be a priority agenda. But are we seeing any changes so far? No. Maybe they are coming. See, sometimes reforms come in a manner that, you know, they will not have immediate effect on like an election, our election, this election. Yeah. The proposals could come and you really can't use them in this election. So it is really, for me, it is more a call for citizens to fall afresh in love with their country.
And that takes us to this question, because someone would say, if you want something to be reformed, then you should have seen a loophole somewhere, and so you want an amendment so that the hole is covered. So are there any things you see as loose in the current laws, electoral laws, and the Electoral Commissions Act, and the election laws that you feel are the ones that should be at the front when we are to have an amendment or a reform?
I have not organized myself to work through those areas, but I think that think about the parties, the laws that govern the parties. We've had this incident of iPod, and then the National Forum for the Political Parties. The National Forum for Political Parties was the constitutional body. And you'd have thought that they would have picked up the agenda of like managing these resources for the political parties and be at the forefront of really creating a framework for engagement between parties and to work on the agenda of reform, electoral reform that is necessary. But then you have an NGO iPod, translate itself into a constitutional when you already have a constitutional body. And I'm really asking what are the interests guiding this rapid change, and where interest is being served, some interest is being served, then you do not have bottlenecks to processes of change, of transformation, of changing the law or reforming the law. Where the interest isn't, the proposals will be there for years and years. So that's why my own personal interest in this is that if we love our country, we would be working towards improving it all the time, you know, in light of the developments that are taking place in other places. And so it is out of what passion are we working, you know? Is it only for the salary? Is it the prestige? Is it for what? But I think we've had leaders who have worked with some sense of passion for the country, you know, and propelled us actually, you know. And so whether you're a minister, whether you're an LC5, the question you should be struggling with is, how am I going about my work? You know, is it for my prestige, or am I working towards making Uganda better, and ensuring that the citizens of Uganda, all of them, not the people who follow my party or the people of my ethnic groups or religious group, make them thrive, you know, is what generates joy for you, you know, that we have citizens for whom going to hospital makes sense, or how would you feel when you go at home and there's a queue of people waiting for you because a person needs surgery, they can't afford it, you know, a child has got admission, parents can't say, they have sold all the land and the chicken and the goats, and now they're looking onto you to support them. Is that leadership? Do you feel that you're happy with that kind of way of things running? Or do you act out of pain and conviction that yes, hospitals must have drugs, you know, and that every person who needs treatment does not have a godfather somewhere, you know, for them to be transported to a foreign country? You know, why can't we do those things here? This is what bothers me is all the people in positions of leadership are traveled. It is not that they are look at things in a parochial manner. They are traveled. They have enjoyed the facilities in other places. Now, what bothers me is why don't they desire that for our country?
What do they benchmark when they go?
Yeah, you know, because people must work with a certain level of passion. I mean, I liked Amin in that aspect only, you know. For him to go around the foreign capitals and seeing we didn't have embassies, he said, that image, so established images in Europe, he even out of, I think, that passion of wanting to put Uganda high, bought a Uganda house near UN premises, you know, which we now want to sell. You know, you need leaders who are feeling like that, who are competitive within themselves to say, I want to put my country on the map, and a positive map. He had his own weaknesses, but I think in terms of working for the aspiration of the country, I think he had a heart for the country, and I think that some of us are losing and missing that, and therefore our choices are limited to personal interest, party interest, religious interest, and that can't help the country to progress.
There was a time when the Interreligious Council of Uganda gave us a presidential candidates debate, and I think this was a very, very important aspect, and it determined people's decisions then, and it was a platform for people to see and know that it's not about your ability to attract crowds, but it's about it's about what you want to do for Uganda when we give you an opportunity. But we saw that and we never saw it again. Was it a one-time thing? Is RSU planning to give us any dialogue again? All that was a chapter, now you've moved on to other things.
No, you see, the Interreligious Council of Uganda is organized. Yeah, and is very clear about its roles and responsibilities in every season. of our country's progress. We are very conscious of the need to expose our candidates to the population and are working. We've done the background papers to make that possible. We are now at the level of working, engaging possible partners, people we work with, to deliver this. Because this is, in many ways, not only an IRCU project, it's a national project. And so we must ensure that we draw in different groups, interests, to ensure that we do a credible presidential debate. So it is coming. Pray with us. It would be good if you people in the media can also offer to sponsor. Because you see, it takes a bit of money, and much of the money actually goes to the media. So out of, I think, national interest, we want to appeal to the media houses to see whether they are prepared to sponsor some time for this. We will be soon calling a meeting to further explore partners who may want to support this initiative, because it is really for our good. Yeah, it is not intended to serve the interest of a particular party. It is really to say, okay, let's hear our potential leaders. What do they have to offer? Yeah.
Then in the same development, someone would say that we have political parties that run away from iPod. That you don't want to join iPod because it's a platform where they sit together with those they don't agree with. So do you think it will be easy for you to attract them to come and sit on the same panel with those they do not agree with?
Yeah, we don't want to equate the iPod, the experience with the debate, because there the dynamics are different. I think the national presidential debate is different. It provides the opportunity for the aspiring candidates to share with the nation, because we develop questions, which we generate from the population, and then use those questions to engage the candidates and see what are their plans, what do they think about what needs to be done. So it is an exercise of national interest, and it is in the interest of the candidates, because what an opportunity for you to have 2 hours engaging the electorate. So we didn't expect that candidates would hesitate to take such an opportunity. We would wonder how a candidate would turn out an offer like that. Yeah, it would reflect a certain level of arrogance, really, for someone not to take an opportunity to speak to the voters. Free opportunity, really. So we are thinking that they will grab the opportunity. And as we have always been before, we will be very balanced, fair in managing the whole process.
Okay. The nominations for parliamentary representatives have kicked off today. And when you look at, in the look of things, when you look at the posters out there, you realize that the number of independent candidates is outbeating the number of candidates that are party leaning. For example, you find a constituency that has one person from a political party and the other 3 are all independents. Does this mean that people have lost trust in the systems in the political parties, or what does this signal?
Yeah, it is a challenge, particularly where politics has become a kind of job-creating space. So it is like if you do an advertisement for a job today, and you want maybe 3 people, you'll get 300 applications. Why? Because there are no jobs. So we need to look at this also in that light, that many people have turned politics into some kind of employment. And also sometimes our way of working, which makes it difficult if you are not near the power centers, that you have a road deal. So that way of working also has meant that the whole issue of getting to leadership is a matter of life and what?
Death.
Of death, because that means resources, that means your survival. So I think part of the challenge is that, the broader challenge is that, it's not a principles, they are not really fighting for principles, they are fighting for survival. And then secondly, the whole process of nomination of candidates within the parties is also a nightmare. Because for the reasons I've said, people are now looking for an opportunity, And if a person has some sense of influence, he thinks that will be enough to propel him to victory. And so there isn't even the sober analysis to say, really, with my numbers, can I? So how do I use my numbers for the benefit of the community? All those are the way people behave helps us to understand how they think about the community. Because if they know that your support will not propel you through, then out of a sense of responsibility and commitment to your community welfare, you would say, let me turn this support to this person who may have the potential to lead, and then we'll work together. So we don't have that kind of, it is all very much selfish. It is how, if I don't get there, let's spoil it for everybody. Now that kind of spirit really is not a spirit of a leader. But sadly, there may be gaps in the political parties in terms of their vetting processes. And we've seen parties really going to great lengths to ensure that they create mechanisms of attending to grievances during that process. But as I said, because of the competition for employment, people will not, even if the process is fair, they will not accept that it is fair.
As long as they're not the ones that are being
as long as
successful.
they are not, But my appeal really to candidates is that let's prioritize the welfare of our communities. There's no reason why those who are aspiring for leadership can't have time to sit and engage around where the bottlenecks are for the communities, and see, agree. You could even agree and say, when I go through, you'll be in charge of health, to monitor and work. You'll be in charge of education. We need to find ways of working that are cooperative. We work cooperatively to improve our community. Prioritize the welfare of our communities, not the welfare of ourselves. That is now really where the challenge lies.
Canon, as we wind up with this conversation, kindly give us your closing remarks, especially on what we've been discussing about what is happening and the emerging issues that are coming, and how probably some can be mitigated.
I would like to, first of all, because we're caught up in an electoral season, the behavior of each one of us will have a bearing on whether we have a peaceful election and whether we have a credible outcome out of the election. And for that reason, I would like to encourage all the duty bearers, Electoral Commission, security agencies, media, religious leaders, cultural leaders, business community, to work in such a way that we create a fair environment and work in such a way that we will ensure we have a credible outcome of the election, because we know the implications of a mismanaged election. We've had that in our neighborhood in Kenya and in many other countries. And so we really, and as you know, Uganda has had this opportunity to be welcoming people from the different political unstable conditions. You know, people from South Sudan, from Congo, from Burundi, you know. That hosting role also must give us a challenge, must increase our burden to ensure that we have a peaceful election. Why? Because now if things are disrupted in Uganda, you can imagine the impact it is going to have on the Great Lakes region. So even out of that sense of responsibility, we should work, be fair in every way, in the way you did, act according to the law. Then secondly, I want to call upon my fellow citizens. You see, elections are a one-day event, but they are critical to our future. So it grieves some of us to think that you are going to sell your future for 3,000 shillings, for 5,000, even 50,000, even 100,000. I was talking to our one LC chairperson, and he was very excited. So I said, so you what has happened? He said, they have given us 50,000. And I'm looking at this guy, LC3, and I was thinking, 50,000 excites you to that level? You have a home, you have land, you have children, and it is 50,000 that shifts all your thinking and your priorities. So people, I think we can do better. We can do better. We have land, we have all the production things that we can use to improve ourselves. Let us not fall, for 100,000, 50,000 to sell your future. Surely, that's a betrayal. So leaders, citizens, evaluate the people that are coming to you. The people that come to you with money, you have to evaluate them. Your worth. Just think about, in our family we have had to find treatment for so many people within our family, and you're always asking yourself, so we have to pay for this one, for that one, for that one, and for that one. You're paying the taxes, and surely we can't find a way of working that can take away these burdens of school fees and health care for our relatives. Those are the things that are keeping us in poverty, actually. You just can't move because somebody is in Mulago and they have to be discharged and they need money. So I want us to wake up and know that the short-term gifts that we get are betraying our future. Let's organize our voting around asking the questions: what difference do we need in health care? What difference do we need in education? What difference do we need in production and marketing of our produce? We've had, in the past, we have had systems that are working, and these can be revived. The difficulty is that a few people think that they have the answers for our country. And some of us, RCU, proposed a national dialogue because we recognize that we are living in complex times and very demanding challenges. So we thought that if we put our heads together as a nation, we find solutions that we are all committed to implementing. So some of us are really grieved, that we know the solution, but somehow we act as if things will just happen out of the blue. That will not prepare us to the stability of our nation, but also the thriving of our communities. So do pray also. Pray for guidance, because God has promised us that guidance. God is able to guide us and inspire us. But I want you just to continue to be sober. Don't get excited as we go through this season. Be sober and engage in conversation in your families, in your communities, in the centers. Engage in conversation on where should the country be going and where are we now. That's what we'll do. That's what we can reap out of this election. If as citizens we are more clearer of where we need our country to be going and how to get there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Canon, and of course to you, our viewer, thank you so much. We've been highlighting this, but we talk about all this for you because we want to see a better Uganda. That is why this program is called the Uganda We Want, and because it's the Uganda We Want, it's a collective effort. It's you and I to build that Uganda that we want when we do the right things. Now that is it from today's edition of the Uganda We Want, but don't miss out the ballot at 9 p.m. You do not have to miss a very interesting and intriguing topic that is going to be discussed this evening during the ballot. So the ballot will be showing 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. today, and of course, and every Wednesday, of course, I have it that we have the ballot 2026. Now I've worked with Liz, SC Patience, and from the third team, we wish you a blessed mid-morning and afternoon.